Okay, this is Mr. R. Lehtonen, and today is the 17th of August 2025. And I dedicate my speech, which I am delivering in this video, particularly and only to one Canadian Alex, because I am 100% sure that it was him and nobody else who wrote a long message from behind a user number 9 on that Finnish language discussion forum called Ylilauta to its discussion chain called Antti Puustinen / Aare Lehtonen Wall 666. Okay. First of all, I happen to know right now, and I already knew when I read your message, that nobody else could have written certain things within that message of yours, because you, Mr. Canadian Alex, you are now, first of all, let me mention this, you are already 19 years old and you will be 20 years old in the month of May next year, 2026. So there's no problem for me to address this speech of mine to a grown-up adult, such as you are. Okay, you are also the son of a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer whose name is Dave. His first name is Dave. You are either his real son or his stepson. Either way, in that way you have gotten access to many things concerning my life in Bulgaria, where I stayed more than 14 years in a row since October 2010 until the end of January 2015. Okay. Let me tell you something. I just bought a physical paper book yesterday, and it has 420 pages in it. I can show you the book, but unfortunately this video picture is a mirror, so it reflects the opposite. So, but you can figure out what this headline of this book is, what its title is. It's in Finnish. This is a translation from English, written by Lisa Jewell, first published in 2019, if I remember correctly, and this edition is from the year 2021, so it's pretty fresh book. As you can see, it's pretty thick. It has 420 pages plus 2 pages as gratitude to certain instances and people at the end. But the main book, this book has 420 pages. Okay, and I will now translate the title of this book in English. First of all, the title of this book in Finnish language, which is my language, goes like this: Kaikista synkimmät salaisuudet. And it translates to English like this: the most sinister secrets. But this book has been published by the biggest book publishing company in Finland, called Werner Söderström Osakeyhtiö, which has its abbreviated form as WSOY, and you can see it. I hope the camera can catch it. Right there. You can read it. WSOY. This book has been translated from English to Finnish by Karoliina Timonen, who is a Finnish translator. Okay. And this book has been praised by many critics from mainstream newspapers, like Keski-Suomalainen, which is a newspaper published in central Finland, central district of Finland, where I am from. Okay, I have not yet read this book, but I will sometime, of course, because I bought it just yesterday. And my main point here is that you, Mr. Canadian Alex, you got very upset in your latest message. You are usually very upset with me, but particularly just today, you got extremely upset with me without any apparent reason, because I have not mentioned you a lot at all in my videos lately. But I know why you got upset, because you are, first of all, the son of a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer, and that's why you have gotten access, because your family, this stepdad or real dad, I don't know which one, but either way, Mr. Dave has given you access to all of my files which have been accumulated while I was still living in Bulgaria. And you took notice of my videos, which I had given certain headlines just yesterday. 4 different videos. In none of them there is me at all. They are just tokens from other sources. But because I had given such headlines to my videos, which indicated that in a certain hotel, I noticed that there was this secret CCTV camera, which is true, by the way, in spite of the fact that you denied it 100%. But how could you know? You don't know anything about my stay in that hotel on the 13th of August 2019. I happened to notice there was this old-fashioned video camera, quite big, under a plastic plex. It's like a window, but it's made of plastic, just above the main door, the only door which leads to my room. Okay, it was above that plastic glass, as it were. Plastic glass was situated just above that door, and behind that glass, which was darkened, by the way, on purpose, so that nobody would easily recognize that there was this big video camera inside. But I noticed it when I took a closer look above my door. So there it was, a big old-fashioned video camera, recording everything. And there are strict laws all over European Union, and Bulgaria, where this hotel is located, also belongs to European Union. So that hotel broke the law in an extremely bad way, because it was an outrageous intrusion to privacy. Nobody is supposed to record anything, what's going on inside hotel rooms, what the customers are doing in there. That's a crime. But I cannot do anything. I never reported it to the police, and I never will report it to the police, because it is of no use. That's why I uploaded the second video to my 4-part video series just yesterday, which indicated that the guy had to wait maybe for 30 minutes before he finally got somebody on phone, and that phone call cost him 78 euros and some cents per minute. It was very funny comedy skit. So that indicates that there's no use either for me to complain about it, and neither can you do anything about it, because the main point is that there is a certain law. If you didn't know, now you will know. Look it up from Google if you don't believe me. There is certain law, first of all, in the United States. I will come to the European versions later of the same law in this speech of mine. Listen up, hear me out. There is a certain law which is called the fruit of a poisonous tree, which means that, for example, let's take a hypothetical example just out of the thin air, a theoretical hypothetical example, that in the United States, if a police officer has no reason whatsoever to stop any vehicle like an automobile, okay, but just because out of his whimsical mood, when he just happens to feel like it, if a police officer feels like it and goes and stops an automobile in a highway, for example, without any reason, so that the driver of that automobile has not broken any laws, but just because that police officer happens to have a whimsical mood, a hunch, so-called hunch, that there might be something wrong with that car or with that driver or with both of them. I will go and stop that car right now. And then he goes and stops that car, and the police officer orders the driver to come out of his car and open the trunk of his automobile. And if the police officer notices that there is, for example, a 10-year-old boy kidnapped and gagged and tied up inside that trunk, and there might even be a DVD disc in which the driver has video recorded how he kidnapped that 10-year-old boy and put him into his trunk. He first of all tied him up and gagged him, and it's all on video because he recorded all those events with his video camera and uploaded that video to a DVD disc, and there is that DVD disc in the same trunk with the 10-year-old tied up and gagged boy. You know something? Yeah, the police officer might then, of course, arrest the person, the driver, the kidnapper, and liberate the boy from his ties and gag. And the police officer might as well put that driver in jail. But when the day of the court of law comes for that case, the judge will he will free the driver, the kidnapper, immediately and dismiss all the charges which that police officer has charged the driver with. And the judge will never ever even watch that DVD disc in which the driver has video recorded everything, how he kidnapped the boy, how he tied him up and gagged him and put him into the trunk of his car. The driver will go out, he will walk out of that courtroom right then and there on the spot without any charges, because all the charges against him have been dismissed by the judge. And you know why? Because of this law, which is called the fruit of the poisonous tree, which means that if a police officer has gotten evidence of a crime through illegal means, in this case by stopping the car without any legal reason and arresting the driver, all the evidence will be dismissed by the judge just because of this law, which is called the fruit of the poisonous tree. And the same law is also prevailing in the European Union, at least in such countries as Bulgaria and Finland, not with the same name, but the main essence of the law, which is called the fruit of the poisonous tree, are prevailing in the criminal law, both in Finland and in Bulgaria. That's why you got upset, Mr. Canadian Alex, even though I have never kidnapped you. Of course not. I have never even seen you in the real world in any country in my life, and that is the truth. I just took that kidnapping example as a hypothetical and theoretical example. Now, how is this all connected to the 4-part video series which I uploaded just yesterday to my YouTube channel, which name is Aare L? Okay, and why did I give such headlines to all of those 4 videos? 2 similar headlines in the parts 1 and 2, and also different but mutually similar headlines also to the parts 3 and 4 of my video series. Because you already knew, I suppose I knew it, that's why you got so upset with me with your message, in your message just today, Mr. Canadian Alex. Because you knew what that USB stick or memory stick or however you want to call it contained. But it could never have gotten to the court of law, because if it did, it would have broken the law of the fruit of the poisonous tree. The poisonous tree in that case was the illegal CCTV surveillance video camera inside my hotel room. And besides, that USB stick or memory stick was not under my bed. It was above the AC, which is also known as air conditioner in Finnish language. It is called, in my language, which is Finnish language, it is called ilmastointilaite. Pushing it can be by a remote controller device. It can be made blow either cold air or hot air, depending on the which buttons you will push in that remote controller. During the summer, of course, it is used to blow cold air, and during the winter time, it is used to blow hot air. Simple as that. Okay. I had placed that USB memory stick above that air conditioner device, which was located high above the floor near the ceiling, and I was away from that room for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes at most, because I went outside to have a cigarette, because it was very sunny and warm weather on the 13th of August 2019. And there was no cleaning up of my room whatsoever, because when I came back, the same old mess was still there, because I had spread all over I had spread my belongings all over the room, so it was pretty messy. So if a cleaner would have come and cleaned up my room, the cleaner would have cleaned up my room and put my belongings to a certain order, so that it would not have been looking so messy. So it was not any cleaning lady or cleaning man coming into my room while I was having a cigarette outside. But when I came back, I went to take a look at my stash, which was, the upper part of that air conditioner device, and the stick was gone. It had not dropped inside that air conditioner device because I checked it. It was easy to check. It was nowhere to be found, not on the floor, not on the bed, not on the chair, or not on the table, nowhere. So it was stolen from me. And how could anybody have known that I had placed my USB memory stick on that air conditioner device? The only reason that they found it out was that they were looking at that illegal CCTV surveillance footage in real time, which was, that illegal CCTV video surveillance camera was recording my room real time, and that's how they noticed that I had put something on that air conditioner device, which was almost which was very near to the ceiling. So I had to climb on a chair and stand on a chair in order for me to be able to put that USB memory stick on that air conditioner device. And they noticed it all in the secret monitoring room, which has, these CCTV monitors from each and every room, looking at those monitors in real time, spying on customers of the hotel. So that's why they found out that I had stashed my memory card, USB memory card. No, not card, stick. The memory card was inside the stick, okay, as usual. So that's how they found out that I had stashed my USB memory stick on that air conditioner device, because they were looking at their illegal CCTV monitors real time in their surveillance room, wherever that might have been. So, but they could not take my memory stick to the police, and even if they did, the police could not do anything, because that memory stick was gotten through illegal means. So that law, which name is the fruit of the poisonous tree, was applicable to that stealing event. And maybe all was written down in secret police files, and you have gotten access to my secret police files, which were never revealed to me. They were never exposed to me, but the police only knew what was going on. And that's why you also knew, because you are the son of a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer, Mr. Dave. And Mr. Dave has also gotten access to all secret police files which the Bulgarian police had filed about me. That's why how you knew exactly what happened to the to the USB memory stick of mine in that hotel room. So, what did my USB memory stick contain in that case? Well, Not very much, not anything serious, but, well, first of all, my huge book, so I could have been prosecuted for possessing my book in a double form. Well, the district court sentenced me to pay about 2,500 euros as a fine for my book. But the Court of Appeals dismissed the entire sentence of the district court, so I did not have to pay anything. But they did confiscate my computer on the 10th of June in the year 2021. and I had to stay in house arrest wearing an ankle monitor around my right ankle for 10 weeks in a row. That means for 70 days in a row. Since the 10th of June 2021 until the 19th of August 2021. I could not leave my apartment during those 10 weeks, except once a month I was allowed to leave my room for a couple of hours, and that was all there was to it. And it was all because you had filed charges against me. In the city of Calgary, in the Royal Mounted Police Office in Calgary, Western Canada, you yourself told me about that in your own YouTube video, in which you were performing with your real face and speaking with your real voice. You told about how you had gone to Royal Mounted Police Office in Calgary to file a report about me, to press charges against me with your then legal guardian, Dave. He's not anymore your legal guardian because you are already over 18 years old. But so you told me everything in your video, which lasted for a few minutes, and I downloaded that video. And that video went along with my computer, which the police in Bulgaria confiscated. But I saw the video. So it was you who was behind my house arrest and the confiscation of my computer. They never returned my computer to me. But I was free to leave Bulgaria without any problems, and I was free to enter Finland without any problems. I left Bulgaria on the, what was the date? It was on the 25th of, it was either 24th or 25th of January this year, 2025. And I finally landed on Helsinki-Vantaa International Airport before noon of the 26th of January 2025. So I had to wait for a long time in Austria to catch another airplane from there to Finland. First from Bulgaria to Austria and from there to Finland. So it was a two-part flight. And you mentioned, Mr. Alex, Canadian Alex, that in Finland there are 4,000 homeless people and I take their place. And those 4,000 homeless people must suffer extreme cold and they will die next winter because I take their place. That's a 100% lie. There are no so-called skid rows anywhere in Finland, and I know it. I have been traveling Finland left and right, north and south for decades before I moved to Bulgaria. And I had never seen one single tent on the streets of Finland in which there would have been some homeless guy. No. And also the mainstream news have never reported about these things, except many decades ago there used to be some homeless people, only a few of them voluntarily living in the forests because they are drug addicts and alcoholics and they have no self-control to behave decently and to behave in a normal manner in ordinary apartments. So that's why they always got evicted, because they were shouting and having those noisy parties using alcohol and narcotics, and that's why they got evicted, and that's why they had to move to the forest. But it was their own fault. Finland takes care of everybody. The reason why in cities, especially in big cities in Finland, there is this so-called homeless problem is because they don't want to move to rural communities like countryside municipalities in which there are tons of free available apartments, all empty, waiting for tenants to come in, but they don't want to move to countryside municipalities. I mean, those drug users and alcoholics, they don't want to do that because in that case they would not have any easy access to narcotics and alcohol in the countryside. That's why they stick to staying in cities, especially in big cities. But they either live as adults with their parents or with their friends, just to get easy access to narcotics and alcohol, because big cities, especially big cities, provide for those alcoholics and drug addicts easy access to all of those things. That's why they don't want to move to the countryside, to rural municipalities at all, in spite of the fact that they are full of free available empty apartments, tons of them all over Finland in those rural areas. That's why I discovered very easily this apartment in which I am living right now, and in which I have been living since the beginning of March or the end of February this year, 2025, because this place is far from big cities. It is a rural countryside municipality. So I'm not taking anybody's place. So nobody freezes to death because of me or for some other reason. At all in Finland, there is not one single person who would just be freezing to death. But because they cannot behave themselves in a proper manner, in a decent manner in ordinary apartments, because they use alcohol and narcotics, they are having noisy alcohol and narcotics parties 24/7, and neighbors, of course, they don't like it, and their neighbors will complain to the landlords, which have to evict all those alcoholics and drug addicts out of those apartments, because they cannot live in a decent manner, in a quiet manner. So they go back to their parents or friends or relatives, whatever, but nobody is left without apartment. If that would be the case, if that was the case, then there would be tons of skid rows, spelled like SKIDROW, Skid Row, like especially in Los Angeles and many other cities all over the United States. And even in Canada, there are these skid rows full of tents in which those homeless people live. But even Los Angeles, I have seen videos, the city workers go to those skid rows and offer them free housing, basically, paid by the municipality of Los Angeles. There are tons of available apartments for homeless people all over the United States and even in Canada, but those alcoholics and drug addicts, they don't want to go into any normal apartments. And even if they went there, they would be evicted. They would be evicted almost immediately because they cannot behave themselves. They cannot behave themselves, That's why, I'm not saying that every homeless person would automatically get an apartment in the United States or Canada, but very large portion of them would. But they cannot live decently without alcohol and narcotics. That's why they get evicted. That's why they live in those skid rows, which are formed by almost endless rows of tents. I'm sure you have seen in the mainstream news those things. And if you have not, Mr. Canadian Alex, then type the search words to YouTube search space, such like skid rows, Los Angeles and other cities, and in Canadian cities, whatever. You will find out tons of videos, Ordinary citizens have recorded such videos and uploaded to their YouTube channels, showing what kind of skid rows there are all over North American continent. But that's not the case in Finland. Not at all. I was told when I visited Finland for 26 days in the year 2019, I made a phone call to the so-called emergency services of the social services in the capital city, Helsinki, Finland, and I asked them, would they be able to arrange me some kind of apartment? They told me on the phone that there are 60,000 homeless people before me waiting for an apartment, queuing, staying in line before me. So I would have had to wait for at least 10 or 20 years before the capital city, Helsinki, could have provided me with an apartment. The same thing goes in my original city, which is called Jyväskylä. I am still in the waiting list since I moved to Finland at the end of January this year, 2025. I put myself in the waiting list of the apartments, rental apartments of the city of Jyväskylä. I still have not gotten any answer from them, but I got immediately an apartment. After 1 hour I had applied for an apartment. After I had applied for an apartment in this countryside municipality, 1 hour I had left my application through the internet when I had posted my application for an apartment to a countryside rural municipality. After 1 hour I got a response. Which said that, yeah, there are available apartments. You are welcome to move in. So I did, because these rural countryside municipalities, they actually do have tons of empty, available, free apartments all over Finland's countryside. So I'm not taking anybody's place, for heaven's sakes. And besides, nobody freezes to death in Finland. There are homeless shelters, a lot of them in Finland as well. Even though if somebody is not able to get an apartment immediately. There are these so-called homeless shelters all over Finland. They will go there and stay there free of charge, free of rent. They don't have to pay any rent at all. They are free of charge. So nobody is left outside to freeze to death in Finland, and that is a fact, for heaven's sakes. So don't give me that wrong, don't give me or anybody else for that matter, don't give me or anybody else that wrong information that 4,000 people will freeze to death because of people like me, because we take their place. No, it's not the case. Even if those 6,000 so-called homeless people in the capital city of Helsinki, Finland, went to ask for apartments in the rural municipalities in Finland, all of them would get an apartment immediately. But they don't want to leave Helsinki because it is the main place to get huge amounts of illegal narcotics and alcohol, because it is available for those drug addicts and alcoholics in big cities in general, especially in Helsinki. That's why they don't want to move out of Helsinki at all. And then they complain, we are homeless. But they are not actually homeless. They are living either with their parents or relatives or friends or in those homeless people's shelters. And that's a fact. And there is not one single person living in a tent in the streets of Helsinki or in the streets of any other city in Finland for that matter. I know it. If there have been some tents, then they have been just protesting against some government policy for a couple of days, and that was all there was to it. And then they go away. They are not there living in a tent because they are homeless. And of course there are special camping sites, how do you call them? Camper, huge van, a car which is a van, and it has been modified as to become a camper. You can buy ready-made campers directly from car dealers. They have been made like that already in the factory, camper. And of course there are special stores and even department stores in Finland which sell tents, but people go on holidays to stay in a tent or in a camper in specific camping sites. That's a whole different issue. None of them is homeless, but it's just a fashion. I'm sure, especially in Canada, that's a very common practice for people to go on vacation and using camper and tent, because there are vast vistas of wilderness in Canada. I know it, even though I have never visited American continent at all, but I have seen videos and pictures and I have read articles. It's a very good outdoor practice, of course, hiking and staying in a tent, but of course it's very often pretty dangerous to hike outdoors and staying entire nights in the wilderness, because there are these grizzly bears and wolves and other wild animals which might attack. Many people just vanish to the thin air during their hiking trips into the wilderness because they get lost. Simply just because they get lost, and they have never found their way back to the mountain trail or whatever forest trail, because they have just wandered off those trails and they have gotten lost and they could not find their way back. That's why many people vanish into the wilderness. So it's not a wise practice. I never go to the wilderness like that because there are dangers, because there are bears and wolves even in Finland. Pardon my loud voice, but I want to use a loud voice without being aggressive at all. Just because of the simple reason I'm using the loud voice, just because of the simple reason that myself I could be heard and understood properly by you, Mr. Canadian Alex. I don't hate you. You told me in your message that I should go to my knees and be grateful, so that my knees would get bloody scars. I will kneel myself in front of you without getting those bloody scars, of course, but generally speaking, I agree to kneel. I will agree to go to my knees. In other words, I will agree to kneel in front of you if you came to Finland. And if you came to Finland to see me face to face in the real life, in the real world. But I somehow know intuitively that you are never going to do that. Why? Come on over. Hop in an airplane in Canada. Take a flight across the Atlantic Ocean and come over to Finland and see me, for heaven's sakes, because you seem to be very frustrated and isolated and aggressive in your present situation. I'm not even sure if it is true that you are working as a sales manager or whatever in a shop, in a store which sells drones. Is that true? You might have been working there and you might have quit it. You might have, resigned from such a job. You might still working in such a workplace selling drones to customers. I don't know, because how can I be sure anything about your life, because you stopped uploading your YouTube videos in which you yourself were showing your daily life and environment in your own YouTube videos. You were showing your real face, you were speaking with your real voice, but for a long time you have not shown your face anymore. In fact, you have stopped uploading videos altogether to your YouTube channel, so I don't know about your life at present, but it's just my hunch or wild guess. This is just a wild guess of mine, or just my hunch, that you might not work in such a drone store anymore because you got fed up with such a job. You might still work there, of course, and it's a good thing, of course, if you are still working there, but you might still be just frustrated and depressed and desperate. And so why don't you just come over to Finland? If you are actually working, then it means that you receive a monthly salary by which you could buy an airline ticket and hop in an airplane all the way from Canada to Finland, even though you might change an airplane in London, England, but it does not matter because you are a seasoned tourist already. Because while you were still uploading videos to your YouTube channel, you were showing a lot of travel videos in which you were traveling in Canada and in the United States, in Canada and in the United States, and even in Mexico with your family. I watched those videos from the beginning to the very end, a long time ago. So it means that you are already a seasoned tourist. Why don't you come over to Finland to get relief, to alleviate your burdens or whatever, depression and hopelessness you might have in your life, because I can see you are very desperate and hopelessness in your messages. I am not responsible for that, but I would like to help you out, honestly. It does not mean that you would have to start living with me for the rest of your life under the same roof, under the same ceiling, in a beautiful house in a countryside. If you just once came to Finland to see me, you would be at liberty to fly back to Canada any second you wish. I will not hold you back, of course not. I would not hold you back. Why would I do that? But you are either scared to come to Finland to see me, or I don't know, you might not have enough money to buy such an airline ticket, two-way ticket. Not one-way ticket, but two-way airline ticket from Canada to Finland and back. But it's not so expensive. Go to such internet address which goes like this. Hear me out. Listen up. Hear me out. www.euroavia24.com. I will spell the name of that website letter by letter, alphabet by alphabet. Here it goes. EUROAVIA, and then come two numbers, 24, and then .com. I hope I remembered the website address correctly. And there are also a lot of other websites which sell extremely cheap airline tickets. So buy such a two-way airline ticket and come over, please. I promise I would then kneel. I would go onto my knees in front of you. It is childish, of course, but you requested it, that I should go onto my knees, that I should kneel and be grateful. I will do that if you come to see me in the real world, face to face. Yeah. Because you have no idea how difficult my life is at times because of my isolation. You try it out. I mean, of course, I'm not recommending that, but I've just, hypothetically, theoretically, you could just try it out. Go to some mountain cabin in a rural area of Canada, anywhere, and try to figure out how it feels. I mean, is that grammatically correct way to put it? Hold on, I will just find a better expression to express what I mean. Then you would feel yourself how it feels to be living completely alone, but you are still living within your family, which includes Mr. Dave and Mrs. Oli, and at least 4 younger sisters of yours. So there are the total of 7 people living in that house in which you have been living since you were born. I'm not giving out any address of yours, even though I know it 100%, and I know also your exact date of birth 100%, but I'm not doxing you at all in this video. But I happen to know a lot about your life because it was you yourself who were showing your daily life and your surroundings in your own YouTube videos a long time ago. So could it be that you are still playing those violent online video games with your online community 12 hours a day, not going to work at all, but staying as an adult man in your childhood home, living on social security benefits, and you are blaming me that I am living on social security benefits. To be more exact, to be more specific, I receive a sickness pension, and I am entitled to that. I have the right to receive it. And I don't blame you if you also have some diagnosed illness, either mental or physical, and that's why you would be receiving social security pension in Canada. I don't blame you that. I don't blame you for that at all. Why would I blame you? No, I'm not blaming you. So it just shows that Canada and Finland, along with Sweden, Norway, England, the Netherlands and Germany, etc., these civilized Western countries are taking care of their citizens. Why would they not do that? Of course they do, because it's the basic human right to stay alive. Even though when a human being is unable to work, I receive such a pension that I'm not able to go to work because I have a diagnosis. So why would you be mad about that? I could take you to live with me in Finland. We could both live just on my pension alone. You would not have to pay any rent. You would not have to pay for your food at all, because I would cover all the expenses of your food and rent and everything for the rest of our lives continually. And I am not joking. I'm serious. If you just would agree to come to Finland and live with me in some beautiful countryside cottage or a cabin, whatever, house, I could buy a countryside house in Finland in the middle of wilderness, in the middle of vast forests, with such a low monetary sum as 7,000, 8,000 euros, and I could just make the payment in installments, paying little by little from 1 month to another until the entire sum is paid off. It's possible with my pension. Think about it, and then I would be the 100% owner of that house. It would not be any rental house at all. I would be the 100%. I would have the 100% ownership of such a house with such a cheap price. Think about it. It's all possible. It all depends on you, because I'm ready to make it all real for the both of us, because I have such a heart, in spite of the fact that you have been treating me in the most awful manner in those Finnish language discussion forum Ylilauta messages of yours for more than 1 year by now. I know it's you, and you have been using either some artificial intelligence, AI translation system, and slash or some real Finnish person to add specific things about Finland in your messages, to make your messages look like as if they were written by a real Finnish person. That means a Finn, a citizen and inhabitant of Finland. But I have the strong intuition that, because, that especially the yesterday message of yours from behind that user number 9 on that Finnish language discussion forum called Ylilauta, in its specific discussion chain called Antti Puustinen / Aare Lehtonen Wall 666. It means volume 666. Okay. Your today's message was such that you have obviously come back from your long summer vacation, because every summer you have been quite silent with me for many years, just because of the simple reason that you have been traveling with your family either to Mexico or to the United States, or within your home country Canada, or even to Europe, to Central Europe, to a country called Slovakia, in which you have ancestral roots still prevailing. There are some old relatives, or you're still living there because you are from Czechoslovakia originally, but that country divided into two parts called Czech Republic and Slovakia in the beginning of the 1990s. But originally that country was known as Czechoslovakia, and your ancestral parents were immigrants to Canada from Czechoslovakia. Hence your peculiar last name, which I'm not going to mention here, but I know that 100% as well. And I know your middle name as well. Your middle name reminds me of the city in the northern Italy. There is this famous cathedral in their very huge, completely white in its color, very impressive cathedral in that specific northern Italian city, which name I'm not going to mention here, but your middle name is exactly the same name as that city is called in English, but in original Italian language it has an extra alphabet in the end. Okay, now relax, Mr. Canadian Alex, for heaven's sakes. Why are you hating me so much? I think you hate your own life conditions and surroundings because you are not happy with your present lifestyle in Canada. But you don't seem to have the courage to start a completely new life with me in Finland, which would all be 100% possible. I don't think that you would even have any monetary problems to buy such an airline ticket, two-way airline ticket, all the way from Canada to Finland and back. At least try it out, give it a try. But you are too scared to meet me in person. But you don't seem to be scared at all when you are posting your hate speeches in written form to that Finnish language discussion forum called Ylilauta, for heaven's sakes, almost every single day. But now you have been more quiet many days in a row, not a sign from you at all on that discussion forum Ylilauta, because you have been on vacation with your family. Even in foreign countries you have been traveling all over the place, as it were, as the saying goes. Anyway, and every summer it has been the same thing. You have ignored me 100%. You have been in the so-called blissful ignorance about me, while you have been very happy during your summer vacation. I'm not blaming you at all I'm not blaming you for that at all. Of course, I'm happy if you're happy, but every time you have come back from your vacation to the isolation of the basement room of yours in your family's house, you have started to be extremely angry with me. I'm not at fault. It's not my fault if you have not the courage to get rid of your isolation from your family's house, because you have your own room in the basement there, in which you stay almost 24/7. playing violent video games with your online community 12 hours a day at least, doing nothing else. Well, you might go to work to that so-called drone store, drone shop, whatever. But I'm not so sure about that. Either way, you are still suffering mentally, and you are suffering mentally a lot. It's not my fault. On the contrary, I'm trying to get you out of your miserable conditions of isolation, because Canada and Finland as well are the most isolated nations in the world in terms of, when it comes to forming human relationships outside of one's immediate family. It's extremely difficult. I know it because I am a national of Finland. I was born in Finland. I have been living most of my life in Finland, except that 14-year era which I lived in the country of Bulgaria, which is in the southeastern Europe. Okay, so the mentality of both Canadian and Finnish nations is extremely cold, and it's extremely difficult to find any life companion outside of one's immediate childhood family. But we could break that rule by getting together, you and me, Mr. Canadian Alex. Why would you like to suffer? Are you a masochist? A masochist is a person who likes to suffer, who does not even want to get rid of his suffering. That's the person called a masochist. And a sadist is a person who likes to cause suffering on others. So are you a sadomasochist, Mr. Canadian Alex? If you are, you still have all the possibility to get rid of that evil trait in your character by moving here to live with me. Why not? We got still almost, if I live up to be 100 years old, almost 30 years we could spend time together. Almost for 30 years we would have ahead of us. We would have ahead of us both. So why don't you just give it a try? Try it out. This opportunity which I'm offering you, in spite of your evil behavior towards me on that Finnish language discussion forum called Ylilauta. I'm not expecting that you would just cease to behave like that towards me after this video speech of mine, which I'm still delivering in this video, but I'm just offering you alternatives. And the best alternative would be that you overcome your fear and travel to Finland to see me, because I cannot afford to travel to Canada. Besides, I don't want to risk anything, because if I am not invited, which I'm not invited to come to Canada, but I am inviting you to come to Finland. So we are both two grown up adult people, for heaven's sakes. There's nothing illegal in it if you just came over and see me for even one day. Of course, it would be a lot of waste of money if you just came to see me for one day and paying those airline tickets from Canada to Finland and from Finland to Canada just to see me for a few hours in one day. So we could spend, I have here, this is my apartment, I have all the human right to have a guest here for as many days as I wish. You could stay here. You would not have to pay any hotel expenses at all if you stayed with me here. But if you are scared to stay in my apartment during your stay in Finland, then by all means you could just get a hotel room for your visit. You could go and stay overnight in a hotel, not having to stay with me in my apartment if you don't wish to. So the minimum price for a single person hotel room, I think it's about 50 euros, 50 and upwards. Yeah. How long have I made? I have been making this video for 1 hour and 10 minutes and 50 seconds exactly. So, yeah. I did not show this book to scare anybody at all, and this is not any sign of me being quote unquote dangerous person because I bought this book. I don't usually buy books like this which have these kinds of titles such as this book has. Kaikista synkimmät salaisuudet. The most, in English it goes like, the most sinister secrets, written by a book author whose name is Lisa Jewell. Yeah. I just bought it because I read while I was in a store which is selling books like this, I was reading the back cover text of this book and I got interested. Well, it's all 100% fiction. It's a fictitious novel. I have nothing to do with the writing or publication or distributing of this book. Not at all. But freedom of speech prevails in Finland. But you are misusing freedom of speech, which is also prevailing in Canada. Oh my goodness. I had to make this video. You know something? I had a very strong intuition. Since I posted those 4 videos just yesterday, since that time until you posted a long message, your long new message onto that Finnish language discussion forum called Ylilauta just today, between I had the strong intuitive feeling all the time when I was feeling your presence, spiritually speaking. And I was desperate because I did not have the courage to start making any English language speeches to you at all because I was scared that, of course, you would react to them, as always, in a very terrible and horrible manner, as you have done. But finally, I had the courage to make this video, which I'm still recording, and this video is dedicated only to you, particularly and specifically only to you, Mr. Canadian Alex, of course, because I know 100% that you have been messing with me in your messages. I hope you can overcome your fear about traveling to Finland. For heaven's sakes, what's holding you back? Are you a sadomasochist? I mean, you are already a very seasoned tourist due to the simple reason that you have been traveling with your childhood family all over the place, inside Canada and in the United States and in Mexico and even in Central Europe in the country called Slovakia. So what's the matter? You already know all the procedures which are taking place in international airports. You would easily find out, what specific gates, where the specific gates are inside the airports from which you could board yourself on an airplane, and and changing airplanes, and I will just most probably come and receive you in the city of Helsinki, which is the capital city of Finland, at its airport, which is called Helsinki-Vantaa Airport. If you just wrote me an email and told me the exact date and time that you would be there, at what specific time, on what specific day and month your flight would arrive in Helsinki-Vantaa Airport, I would go there and receive you. There is this specific area in which receivers of airline passengers are receiving those passengers. You could easily find me, and I could most probably easily recognize you as well. But at least you could recognize easily me, myself, receiving you at Helsinki-Vantaa Airport if you decided to come. It's up to you 100%. Don't feel that I would be pressing you to come because I'm not doing that at all. It's up to you. It's your decision. But just for the sake of both of us, to alleviate the suffering, I suffer from isolation, and you suffer from various reasons in Canada. In spite of me, but you seem to think that it's all coming from me. All of your life sufferings are coming from me, which is not true. Please try to understand that. So you should just come over and overcome your fears and hatred and whatnot, and come with a different attitude, with a good and positive attitude, to meet me face to face in the real world, for heaven's sakes. Why wouldn't you do that? Are you scared? I should be scared of you, taking into consideration the quality and content of your writings about me, your messages about me, and messages to me on that Finnish language discussion forum called Ylilauta, for heaven's sakes. I should be afraid of you, but I'm not. So you should not be afraid of me either. Oh my goodness. If you don't have cash money laying around to cover the expenses of a two-way airline ticket, then take a loan from somewhere, for heaven's sakes. I hope you have still a good credit, and if you have a regular job, you could just apply for a small monetary loan from any loan company. You could borrow the money and pay it back by installments, little by little, every month. You could get the money. It's not about the money. You know it. It's about your own hesitation, and you don't really want to come. But I hope you would want to come. Of course, I hope that. So everything is open. You are a young guy still, so it's about high time for you to start overcoming your fear concerning me, because the older you get, the more hesitant you will become, I think so. So it will be too late to move yourself to Finland in the future, the more time goes by, for heaven's sakes. But if you don't come, then you don't come, and there is nothing I could do about it. I am not going to retaliate against your own decision not to come. Of course not. I'm not going to retaliate. I'm just sad that we both must suffer mentally just because of you. Just because of you. Because of your stubbornness, just because of your hesitation, etc., etc. Yeah, remember the law of the fruit of the poisonous tree. Nobody can do anything about it. Nobody can do anything about that USB memory stick, which most likely ended up in a Bulgarian police station. But they never even mentioned about it to me. It was never in those files which were presented to me by the police of Bulgaria. But you know it, and Mr. Dave, your former legal guardian, former because you are already 18 years old, so he's not officially your legal guardian, but your stepfather, real father, I don't know who he is, but at least I know his real first name, which is Dave, and which is the so-called breadwinner, bread, spelled like bread, bread, you are eating bread, white or rye, 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 which is dark bread. You put butter on it, and you could put cheese or cucumber or tomatoes on a bread. Bread. The head of the family is also called the breadwinner, at least in the United States. I'm not sure if you are familiar with that term in Canada, but look it up if you are not sure what is a breadwinner. It means the head of the family who is earning, who is working to get his earnings, his salary, which that head of the family would spend on his family. That's why it is called the head of the family, at least in American English. I don't know in Canadian English, but at least in American English it is called the breadwinner, who wins the bread. Yeah. So the breadwinner of your family, Mr. Dave, has been very familiar with behind-the-scenes files about me, which were never presented to me myself. So I'm sure that from Mr. Dave, you, Mr. Alex, Mr. Canadian Alex, you had gotten all those behind-the-scenes files, information about me from Bulgaria. You had access to those files because you are the son of the you are the son of a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer, Mr. Dave, and that's why you got extremely angry with me because of my 4-part YouTube video series which I posted to my YouTube channel just yesterday. You were not so angry because of the content of the videos, but you were angry because of the headlines which I gave to those videos, because I'm pretty sure that you knew about the law which is called the fruit of the poisonous tree. That law is called with that particular name in the United States. I'm not sure if the same law is called with that name in Canada, but the same content, similar law prevails in Canada and in Bulgaria and in Finland as well, and in many other countries, but with a different name of the law. So you got angry that you had not been able to imprison me because of the law of the fruit of the poisonous tree. That's why you got extremely angry with your today's message, Mr. Alex, Mr. Canadian Alex. Please get rid of your eternal hatred towards me, because I have not caused anything which would just create your inner hatred within you towards me. On the contrary, I have tried to help you out. I'm still trying to help you out by offering you this lifelong opportunity to live with me in the same house, under the same roof, under the same ceiling, in the beautiful countryside, somewhere in Finland, by the lakeside or by the riverside. Just the two of us moving into the same house. Why not? Then the both of us could get rid of our personal isolations, which we still have as long as we are not together. Mr. Canadian Alex, please try to understand these things. Who else in this entire world would take care of you so much as I do, despite the fact that you are behaving in the most terrible and the most horrible manner towards me in your messages on that Finnish language discussion forum called Ylilauta. Who else would forgive you so much but me? Nobody else. So you should really take this opportunity. And I mean, it's extremely rare that you would find a guy like me. And you are exaggerating about my life's past quite a lot. I'm not the person you claim me to be, or even if you imagine me to be such a person, I'm not such a person. And you know it in your heart of hearts. I'm pretty sure about it. But you just wish to keep that tough guy mask on your face and act like a tough guy. Why? Relax, be more humane. And are you a hopeless case? There was this Bulgarian person who predicted that you, Mr. Canadian Alex, will never ever wish to see me face to face in the real world during the rest of our lives. Why would a Bulgarian fortune teller be right instead of you changing that prediction to be something else by coming to Finland and by seeing me? Why would you and I surrender to some fortune tellers' predictions? Huh? This is my question, for heaven's sake. I mean, pardon my loud voice, but I just use a loud voice just in order for me to get heard by you, so that you could hear and understand my English language words as well as possible. I'm not normally shouting in a face-to-face conversation, but this is a video recording and I have to be very clear and accurate, especially when I'm speaking a language which is a foreign language to me, because my native language is called Finnish language and I'm delivering this speech in English language. Okay, you get that? You dig? Okay, jokes aside, I mean, you dig is a terrible slang word. That's why I said jokes aside. But other than that, I'm not joking about our future. If you agree to come to Finland and live with me, if you are worried about your job, you could always get some online job which is not dependent on your physical location in this world. There are a lot of jobs which are so-called remote jobs, which could be performed through the internet, and then you will not be dependent on any physical location. You would not have to stick to a specific physical location when you can work online through the internet, and that is 100% possible. Many people do that. But if you don't wish even to see me for one day, then it's up to you. Then I cannot do anything about it, and I'm not gonna retaliate against your decision. Of course not. But I don't want to bore you by repeating these things all over again in this video. You already know what I think about things in general concerning you and me, because I have told you these same kinds of things many times before in my previous English language speech videos. But repetition is not a bad thing. At least now you know that I have not abandoned you at all, and I'm not gonna abandon you. Oh my goodness. For how long must I suffer from your terrible and horrible messages on the Finnish language discussion forum called Ylilauta? My goodness. I had a relief, momentarily relief from your messages while you were absent, while you were traveling with your childhood family all over the place during your summer vacation. But obviously you have come back to the isolation of your room in the basement of your family's house. Think about it, for how long it is you get your next summer vacation next year in the year 2026. Why would you like to isolate yourself 24/7, playing those violent video games with your online community, just like you yourself showed the entire world to see in your YouTube videos on your own YouTube channel, that you were playing a violent video game for more than 3 hours in a row? I saw it. It was a live stream video of yours, which you later deleted, but I happened to watch it. So that's why I know that you are able to spend online playing those violent video games of yours with your online community at least 10 or 12 hours a day, which is not good for your mental health. That's why it shows very clearly. Your mental state is showing clearly in your negative messages about me and towards me on that Finnish language discussion forum called Ylilauta. Ylilauta, yeah. From behind the username 9, and you might even use some other user, no, not username, user number 9, and you might even use some other user numbers by applying a so-called VPN encryption program, which gives you hundreds of different IP addresses. So you could just post your messages from behind different user numbers on that Ylilauta forum, Finnish language discussion forum called Ylilauta. So it looks like as if several persons are writing those messages, when in fact it's only you who writes all of those messages. You write them first in English, and then you use some kind of advanced translation program, which is in turn using some advanced AI technology, artificial intelligence technology, in other words, so that you are able to make your messages look like as if they were written by a native Finn, a national of Finland who is living in Finland, when in fact behind all those messages is only you, Mr. Canadian Alex. And you even accused me of having a concept of a Canadian Alex to be just a work of my own imagination, that some Canadian Alex is just an imaginary figure without any reality behind it, that there does not even exist any person whom I call with the name Canadian Alex. You are a very real person. Fortunately, I became acquainted with you a long time ago, so that made me convinced that you are a real person and not a product of some deep fake AI, in other words, artificial intelligence, computer generated imagery, in other words, CGI. You are a real person and not any computer made figure. You have a real date of birth, you have a real full name, and you have a real home address, and I know all of them, but I'm not gonna expose them in this video at all. But You know me and I know you. So why not get together, Mr. Canadian Alex? Come over to Finland. At least give this some kind of thought. Give it a consideration. Give it a try, for heaven's sakes. And maybe in due course of time you are finally ready to hop in an airplane and come all over from Canada to Finland to see me face to face in the real world. Okay, that was everything I had to say in this video. So thank you for watching this video and thank you for listening to my speech from this video. Bye bye.